Hello, my friends, and welcome to another stream of Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, designer from London, and today's all things Adobe Express. And joining me today is the very awesome teacher and Adobe Express ambassador, Lucas O'Keefe. Lucas, man, how you doing, bro?
Hello, everybody. Oh, it's great to be here. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Excited to host you. First time we're streaming together, so yeah, it's gonna be a good one, man. As always, my friends, I can see folks are coming in thick and fast on the YouTube Behance. I can see who do we have on the lovely Behance? We have Cody, Idara, Robert, Ray. As always, my friends, please do send the love in the chat. Any questions you have for Mr. Lucas whilst he's designing on Express, his background, whatnot, please do share that in the chat, and I'll do my best to share it with him. And just a little bit of housekeeping. Remember to, of course, subscribe to our YouTube and Behance, and of course, also to our Instagram at Adobe Live to find out about any latest streams and updates. So, question for you all before we jump into it. Who's already thinking about 2025? Is that wild? I don't know. I feel like maybe it is a little bit. Lucas is definitely up for it.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Lucas, would you like to tell us about what you're working on today? Because it's in that realm, though, of forward thinking.
So, as you said, it is not too far from here, just around the corner. Some of us would probably like a little bit more time, stick around in 2024. I know we probably have similar climates and temperature right now. It's getting a little bit colder for both of us.
Chilling.
I wouldn't mind going back a little bit, give me a little bit more of 2024, but we don't have control over that. So, 2025 being just around the corner, we're going to be looking at how we can create some standout social media content that's really in stride with the trends that are sticking out, that we're forecasting to be present now, but also strong in 2025. And the big thing I want to highlight today is just looking at returning to that buzzword of authenticity and also going back to storytelling. We've heard these thrown around in content creation endlessly, but many people hear it and think like, well, what does that look like? And today, what I'm going to reduce it to is not trying too hard. So, authenticity is not trying too hard. It's really just leading with the message of your content. So, we're going to hop into Adobe Express. And with that being our
Nice.
overarching theme, I'll show you some fun content that I'm looking forward to creating. So, before we
Nice.
get into it, especially social media content, and again, looking at the trends, what is standing out? I don't know about you, but I love using templates to just start off as a starting point. Sometimes
Mm,
I click on a template or I find one that I like, put it into my project, and that's all I use with it. I don't actually work with it. I duplicate the page and move on or whatnot. But sometimes I completely use the template and it's just a very short, quick swap for me. But I always like them no matter what to find what's trending. And a big thing I love
mm.
about Adobe Express is you can look at the popular templates right here. So I'm gonna do a little scroll through there and
Little
we'll see what
browse
stands
through
out.
it. I mean, there's a strong collection, right? I feel like wherever we want to sort of start from, we've got our bases kind of covered in terms of our preference, which is nice.
It really is. You pop in and there's a purpose that maybe you weren't even setting out to create pops out. And I
Exactly.
see this Make It Pop one. I believe that's from an installation with
Good
Adobe
old make
Max
it
this
pop.
year. But I'm looking through and I'm loving elements like this. I really like, the multimedia elements. We got some, star balloons here popping into some real life images with a fun effect. I'm gonna work with
Mm.
something with that effect later. I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing what else kind of stands out to me. And the main thing that's really been on my mind that I see on my explore page, if I hop on Instagram, people creating really dynamic, standout content, is this sort of multimedia, mixed media, scrapbook style content. And I see it
Mm.
here in one variation. I see it here as like a sort of collage that's interactive. I see it here as being, built into the natural search function of most of the platforms we use. And it's just really standing out to me. So I'm going to look at making some similar content that is in this scrapbook style that's going to really
Nice.
focus on sending my message. So let's get into it.
Nice. I can see from the chat as well. Folks are already, I mean, I feel like it wasn't a crazy question to put out there about the 2025 because folks are already jumping into that already. We've got Ray saying, yet 2 months to go. I mean, literally, the time is going pretty quick. And also, folks are really interested in the templates as well. I've already got Ray mentioned about any firework templates, but I'm sure we'll browse into some different mixed media as we go along. So, again, my friends, keep those questions coming.
I was thinking, Halloween just passed recently. That would be there were so many fun Halloween themed templates. And like you
Yes,
said,
mate.
there's always another holiday. There's always another day of recognition coming up
Of
and there
course.
will be templates for it. So what I'm
Nice.
doing here is I just popped in a 1080 by 1350 pixel project that I'm going to work with. What I'll be making is an Instagram feed post for starters, and it's going to be what we call a carousel post. I always explain what it is, even though many people are either like in the camp of, I know what a carousel post is, Lucas. I use Instagram, or they've never heard it. So I will
Mm,
explain. It is any of those swipeable posts that have two or more images that you can really just get into the driver's seat as a viewer, consume at your own pace. It's not a video, and you can really just scroll through. I love that type of content, and I'm seeing a real resurgence of it on Instagram.
mm.
Just the other week, the head of Instagram did a Q&A, and he said, if you attach music to your carousel posts, they'll actually start showing up on the Instagram Reels feed, which is awesome. So I'm going to name this
I've no idea. Yeah.
project. It's
Nice.
going to be
And
my,
just while you're doing it,
yep.
I love the breakdown of that because the beauty of obviously why we do, of course, Adobe Live is that we have all ranges of folks that are tuning in from various levels. So it's really nice that you kind of give us the breakdown of folks who know about it or maybe folks who are just literally very new to this space. So yeah, I'm loving the explanation, dude. Very
If
cool.
I say anything social media and it doesn't make sense, please cut me off. Please ask in the chat and I will
No, you're good
explain
for
it.
it.
What I'm looking for here is I'm gonna plot out my boards that I'm gonna be using. So I'm gonna be using different slides of my carousel, but I want to have them different varieties of backgrounds. I'm a teacher, so I'm gonna go with a chalkboard style is what I'm searching up here first.
Nice.
So that's gonna be my first background in the slideshow. We're gonna move through and just keep going. Find a few more. I can duplicate them and use them, but I always like to
Mm.
start off plotting out what I'm going to be working with before I add
Okay,
in words, pictures, designs, and
cool.
all the juice.
On that topic of chalk, I mean, are you old school like that? Are you still use chalkboard in the schools? I have no idea because it's been a long time since I've been back to school. But are you using a chalkboard or more of a, I don't know, like iPad like style board? What's your
You know, you
chosen
know
weapon?
what? I don't think my allergies could handle a true chalkboard. So my school board, fortunately, has
Mm,
moved away from it. But
okay.
there are some. I've been into some schools that still do use the chalkboard. We use
Oh
a
wow.
whiteboard with white erase
Yeah.
markers.
Oliver Twist sort of style. I love it.
Yeah.
That's my Britishness there. I apologize. Yeah, brilliant.
So some of my favorite backgrounds I like to use, I like to search for things like watercolor paper. Just like it's not just going to be a blank white square. I want the
Mm,
chalkboard. I want the kind of slight texture to the paper that's really going to stand out. So I'm just dropping them in, searching them up in Adobe Express, and setting them as the page background. On this one, I just got a plain solid yellow, but I'm going to go ahead and add in some sort of grid to almost look like it's graph paper. So let's see what we got with that.
nice.
Let's just try grid. Usually it's pretty good. And I like to find my grids under the design assets. Let's try this one. And there we go.
Nice.
We just built out that student notebook right there.
Taking you back to school now. I love it.
I
It's like
always
a
try to
blast from the past.
incorporate it wherever I can. I always try to do that little throwback. There we go. So I've got a few pages here. And the idea with this carousel post, something that is a good way to upgrade your content that really doesn't take too much effort, especially if you already have a project or a template. Everything I'm saying today, I want to really just highlight the message of you don't have to, do a full 0 to 100 upgrade for your content. Take the post you already have and do slight modifications, right? Maybe
Mm,
update the font, maybe change small things here and there. It really does go a long way.
nice.
So what I'm looking for here are just some elements that I can use. I want to fill this out. And I've seen this really nice, again, scrapbook style, mixed media. We got the chalkboard. Let's throw in some images. So I think I got,
Nice.
let's see, typing. I want to think this is going to be for other content creators. The topic,
Okay.
I'll give it a little preview now. The topic of this
Mm,
post is how to plan an entire month of content. And I'm going to show how to do it in the carousel. So I want to think of some images that are associated with someone who would be planning content and creating content.
okay.
Let's search typing on laptop. Let's see, we got some options.
We will not be limited with those kind of images. I imagine there's going to be quite a few, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Limited.
And I will, on that note, there are some things that no matter how much you search,
Mm,
Adobe Express has thousands and thousands of images. You still might not find some searches. Maybe
Mm,
not for the topic we're dealing with today, but I'll throw some text to image in here today just to generate some things with a bit more freedom. And we'll go from
nice.
there. But what I'm going to do, I will be removing the background from these images. But first, I just want to plot it out and see where I can place things. I want to have, these hands typing on the keyboard here in the corner. Let's generate some more, or let's search up some more really quick. I want a big green leaf. That'll be kind of cool.
Nice. And whilst you're
Um,
doing that, Lucas, there's a question. So, in terms of when you work in Express, do you tend to maybe draw out ideas first before jumping straight onto Express? How do you, when you plan your own designs for social media, what's your process for folks who are kind of starting out?
I like to find inspiration from either posts I've created in the past that I've really liked, or posts
Mm,
that I've seen do well by other creators that I want to now apply my own spin or my own twist to, right? And
mm,
that's really what the topic of trends is looking at today, right? We're looking at trending content. It's very common with video. We see certain styles that stand out and feel right at home on the feed.
mm,
Obviously, it'd be nice to be the person creating that style and being a pioneer for that, but it is great to also ride the wave of content that is really doing
of
well, and
course.
that's what we're looking at today.
Nice.
Let's throw a calendar up there because it is about content planning. So that's going to go there. All right, and now let's generate an image. So of course, in Adobe Express, right here, if you're searching photos and you don't see an image that you want, you'll probably hear me do my prompt and be like, yeah, he could have found that one. But just for fun, let's throw some AI in there. I'm going to
Of
look
course.
up, let's generate a coffee mug on wooden table, which I'm probably going to remove background anyways. View from above. So I kind of want that like looking down at the coffee mug. Let's have some fun. Let's make it a photo to match the theme we got going on here. And I don't know if you had the chance to try these out, but
Mm,
I love how they've added the option to have reference images when you're using text to image
yes.
here, right? So you can have
It's a game
style.
changer.
You can see in the example here, like the one on the left was the style reference, and then the one on the right was the generation that kept that art style. My
Mm,
favorite is the composition, and this lovely example with the eggs and the ice cream just demonstrates it perfectly. But you upload an image, and it
mm,
will as its best as it can, or as much as you want it to, it'll try to match or reference the layout and the placement of objects or people on the page, which is very cool.
sweet.
So
It's
we're
very
generating
cool now in
that.
terms of like all the sort of updated features, and of course we just had Max not long ago, so it's very cool to sort of see how these new features are now being implemented and how we can use it right to streamline our process. It's a very
Yes.
cool.
And I will be using quite a few of the new Max features today. So like
Oh,
I know text
okay,
to image has been around, but they've been adding to it, and it's now in Firefly
okay,
Image 3. But there are some fun things like animate all, which lets you,
okay.
if I was making this an animated post, all of these with the click of a button could be animated right here. And then that's great for stories. And then there's
Mm,
something I'm going to use a bit later, rewrite, which is so fun, especially because, many people who are designing, they want to design and create. Maybe they don't want to be typing all the stuff on the carousel. I'm going to show how
of
much
course.
fun rewrite can be.
You're teasing us for later, Lucas.
Oh
I
yeah.
like it. You keep
If you're
keeping us locked on our toes.
if you're watching, stay tuned. And if you've tried any of the new features too, let us know what you've tried and what you've really liked. What I'm going to do
Yes,
really
very
quick
cool.
is just remove all the backgrounds from these images.
Nice. And whilst you're doing that, Lucas, maybe talk us through again for people who are very new to obviously who you are and what you do, and what your kind of background. Obviously, you mentioned you're a teacher. Obviously, you're using Express for your everyday work content. Did you study what you're into now, or what's your kind of background for anyone just tuning in?
Yeah, so I say my main function, what I do is I'm a communicator. So lately that has become, as we have been in 2020 and beyond, being a
Mm,
communicator really does involve creating content, whether that's videos or pictures or words. It all comes down to creating content. So being a teacher and always wanting to, stretch my creative muscles a little bit more, I just started creating content, building my personal brand largely on Instagram, and now it's mainly what I do full time. So I went through a stint of
nice.
just doing full time content creation, missed teaching quite a bit. So now I teach mornings, create content in the afternoons. It's a very nice balance because
Ah,
like
best of
I
both
can
worlds.
I can do fun stuff like this. Yes. Not saying teaching isn't fun. All right, so I have
Very
my
cool.
layout here. I like this. And now we're going to frame it, or it's really going to be acting as the frame to add in my text, to really act as the front cover of this carousel post. And let's go ahead and just put in the fonts I have. So I made a quick and simple brand to use with the content we'll be sharing today. I love
Nice.
building out brands in Adobe Express. I have probably 30 of them because whenever I have a new project or I'm working on a project for someone else or a different
Mm.
account I work with or manage, I like to have a separate brand for it. Keeps all the colors, keeps all the assets, all the different fonts I use readily available.
No, I'm so glad you mentioned that. We just had a question actually via the Behance chat about how do we apply brand colors. And again, you mentioned that side of having a swatch, having your kind of library there where you kind of go to references. So hopefully that answers your question on Behance.
Yeah, and I
Brand
can show
colors.
too. If you
Yeah,
look on the if you
nice.
look on brands here, it'll actually bring up all the brands you have. So if I have this
Awesome.
one, 2025 content trends, I'm pretty much done this design to this brand, but a very cool feature to try out. If you haven't, this is a new one from Max this year. Apply brand right here at the top. Basically, if I had just started with a template here that, I liked the layout, I liked some of the images, but it
Mm,
wasn't my fonts, it wasn't my brand colors, some things were missing, right? That would normally take me some time to apply everything. Well, now with Apply Brand, what it will do is it will take all the information I've saved here into this brand and it will just add it to the template. So it'll swap out the colors the template had with new ones. It'll swap out the fonts the template had with new ones that are all saved in your brand. And you can just keep clicking it endlessly and generating it. It's very quick until it gets
nice.
the mold you want, which is awesome.
Very cool.
So we're typing in our front cover here. One thing that is not going to really change as we look at trends in social media, one thing you can count on pretty much staying important is the need to grab attention. As we always say, you're going to need to grab your audience's attention. That
Mm,
can be with pictures like I've added here, that could be with words. Ideally, it's with a combination of both. So I
mm.
just got my nice center, easy to see title here, how to plan an entire month of content. And we're going to make it look nice. We're going to italicize entire just so that stands out. I like that font quite a bit.
Mm. What font are you working with there? So we have an idea.
This one is, I believe, Abril Display. I got
Cool.
here. Yeah. The last thing I'm going to add before we move on to the next slide is unfortunately, we see this a lot where people will screenshot your content and post it as their own. We don't want that. So a good thing sounds very simple to upgrade your content, but you
Mm.
want to add even just a small watermark. I like to add my Instagram username to it just so if people are screenshotting it, you get credit. It's unfortunately going to happen probably no matter what, but at least you can
Mm.
continue to get people knowing your content. So I'm going to type
Of
it up
course.
right here. So
And
at the
just on that
Lucas
as well, it's
O'Keefe.
very nice to kind of, share the love. And of course, with our community, we're forever creating very, very nice stuff. And actually, that's the beauty of, again, things like Behance, if folks are watching on Behance, because the community is all about sharing, creating work. And obviously, you mentioned crediting as well, because it's nice to credit when you see something that you like and to share. Of course.
I always love it when social media is so dependent on sharing content. I love
Mm.
sharing content, just not people reposting as their own. So,
Credit,
um,
credit, credit.
and it's been nice actually. I've been seeing this done more where it's nice to just apply like a little name tag to your content. I've seen it often, or I've done in the past where it's been on the bottom, but people can screenshot and crop that out. So let's even get rid of that.
I love that. This is watermarked all over us. You are not
Yeah.
taking his content. Brilliant.
Exactly. So I'm just about ready to move on to the next page. So I'm going to keep going.
Cool.
What I'll do is I'll take some elements that I like. Whenever I have my text boxes I've already made, I'm just going to
Mm.
copy and paste them right over because obviously I won't be using the same full size text as my cover. But an interesting thing I want to note about
Mm.
carousel posts, especially on Instagram, you can repost these as PDFs on LinkedIn, which is great. I believe TikTok lets you post images now that you can swipe through. So it's an
Mm.
extremely versatile content format. But something I love about them on Instagram is it is the only content format that will be shown to your audience up to 2 times. What I mean is, let's say
Mm.
someone is scrolling on their feed and they see this that I posted, and maybe they're not interested in that at the moment, or they're busy. They scroll past it. Most social media content, that's the last time they'll ever see it unless they visit my page and look for it. With carousels, a little bit later, a few hours in the day, when they're back online, Instagram will give them a little nudge and will show them the post again, starting with this slide. So I like to make this slide act as like a secondary hook when I'm structuring my content, but with a
Nice.
different look. So I'm doing some different colors, and I'm not putting the same word for word text. But let's use rewrite right here, because I know I previewed the rewrite feature, and I don't want to leave people waiting. So the first hook, how to plan an entire month of content. I want to use that hook again, but I don't want to say the exact same thing twice. So with the text selected, I'm going to go to rewrite here. And I love it because it has all the different options I can get to, as it says, rewrite that text. I can rephrase it, which is what I'll probably go with. I can shorten it if I'm thinking it's too wordy. Again, a big trend for 2025. Don't waste people's time, right? Keep them for as little time as you need to give your message. Use as little words as you can to, effectively deliver your message, and that's it. I can lengthen it if it's for different formats. And I can also work with the tone. So let's see. We got inspirational, professional, personal. What are you feeling? What do you want to pick? You want inspirational,
Oh,
professional,
my
comical?
brain was going straight to comical just simply because there's a positive energy. I don't know.
Let's do
Probably
it.
perhaps inspirational, but comical's good too.
Let's see what we got.
But it's pretty
So I
cool,
do.
though, like these prompts that it has this like stuff just to make life so much easier for you, know?
It's so amazing because, again, like I said, maybe someone is a writer and they don't need this, but they're not the strongest designer and they need some help from templates or a little bit of starting point from templates. Maybe we're reversing that, and someone is a very strong designer but maybe doesn't enjoy writing or putting the text into the post. It's got something for everybody. And I don't know if you
Nice.
saw, but this generated extremely quickly, which is great.
Very cool.
I like this one. What's the secret to orchestrating a whole month of content? So we go with we just click it, it applies it. I can work with my text here. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And you know what? Since it's got, like I said, I like this multimedia style. Scroll through your feed and look for some carousels. Our phone's listening to us. They're probably hearing us talk about it. It's going to show us it on Instagram anyways. But scroll through and look, and you'll see a lot of this style already taking off and beginning, which is really refreshing. I love this. I'm a very hands-on paper person, even though I do love designing online.
Nice.
But it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Sure.
To go with that orchestrating, I'm going to let's search up some instruments. Let's get some like brass instruments. Trumpet. I'm not a music teacher. Don't hold me to it here.
I love that. You can have like a wave of people now to ask into what do you play? What do you play?
Although I have played drums. I've dabbled in drums for a little bit.
Cool. Cool.
We're going to remove that
I
background.
mean, I make a mean triangle, but who's bragging, right?
Yeah.
Just leave it triangle.
And it's really, I love this format. Remember how I opened up at the beginning? I said, authentic content is not trying too hard. It is just delivering your message. I'm just laying out these elements on the page. I'm not really overthinking it, because we could endlessly overthink it, but it really is just about delivering this to my audience. Oh, I typed horn, got a lot of animal horns. Let's try horn instrument.
I'm almost getting like a sort of Wes Anderson vibe already. I don't know whether it's the yellow or just the off yellow. It's very
I
cool.
think that trend, because that was another very popular trend earlier in the year,
yeah.
right? And I don't think it's a coincidence that has kind of led to this also being a trend with images and pictures too.
There we go. Method to the madness. I love it.
Let's go ahead. Let's like rotate it. There we go. All right. What's the secret to orchestrating a whole month of content? Let's go ahead, and I want to stick with this background. I'm going to alternate a bit back and forth, just so it's not getting stuck on the same type of scroll. So we're back to our chalkboard, but this is going to be a more word heavy focus this time. So we're going to go with step one of doing this. So if you're planning a month of content, what's the step one you want to do? Think about how many posts will you share per week? Start there.
It could be quite a scary question for anyone who's like, oh my God, I need to schedule. And I'm quite curious to see how you break it down, because it can be quite a daunting experience, no?
Yes, I always say start with, what is your benchmark that you can reach and sustainably keep up with your content. So we'll put that there. We can remove my watermark now. This is just going to become step one. Put that up there. Again,
Do you
rewrite,
find that?
rewrite, so tempting. Sorry.
I was going to say no. Just on that topic of scheduling posts and it being that difficult. Do you find over time you've kind of sharpened your skills in terms of planning and prepping ahead of time, or is it just kind of learning as you go along? What's the for anyone who's quite new into that space of wanting to really plan ahead?
I always say scheduling your content and planning it ahead really does go a long way, keeps you super organized. And you know what? Life is eventually going to get in the way of us creating content no matter what, right?
Mm, mm,
Content's content, life is life. It doesn't get like that's more important. Um, so it's
yeah,
okay, but when you have your content scheduled in advance, you don't have to
nice.
worry about missing your time you're going to post. So I do like that, but it could be overwhelming to start. So that's why I say start with what's manageable. I'm going to actually put
Mm,
some guidelines right here. So I have some guidelines in this content because this is all about how to really give value to your audience in 2025. Trust me, people are going to share the content that makes them think, wow, I need this. I need to take action with this post. Or I know someone who can really benefit from this post. I need to share it to them. Those are really the goals you want to focus on in all the content you're making. So
mm.
I'm just adding in I have some text I pre-type just so people aren't just watching me type for the next hour.
I was like,
Um,
he's so quick. Wow, I've never seen anyone quick. That I've posted a few, but wow.
but I'm just laying out all my words. So what I'm going to do, I know I had some fun and designed the full slide for this one and the full
Mm,
slide for this one. What I'm going to do for the next few slides is we are just going to fill in our text just so it's all put where it needs to go. I do find that's the best way to go before you start adding elements, because you got all the information. It's still all about the message. You don't want to
mm,
miss that, right? So let's go ahead. The good thing is I'm just going to reuse most of the formatting from this page and use it on this page. So let's obviously
nice.
make the font darker so we can see it. Let's make it step 2. And after you've decided how many times you want to post per week, think of the next question, which I say is, which days will you post on? I find
Mm,
to answer your question, it does really help to have some consistent days to show up.
mm,
Your audience might look forward to it and expect, hey, Lucas posts every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I haven't seen his post
mm.
yet. I wonder where it is. But it's also good for you as a content creator, as someone who is creating social media content, to also have that schedule to follow.
Just on that, that's a really interesting point. I remember reading an article really briefly on LinkedIn about when you want to schedule and post, and obviously the times of the day and whatnot. And then I started to think that only works, but if your audience is from different parts of the world, then actually, what's a nighttime for someone is obviously a daytime for someone else. So sometimes it's a bit of a catch 22, as it
Yeah,
were. But it's a tricky one.
I,
It's the
I always
balance, isn't it, of
say
what
no.
works?
I love that discussion topic because I always say there is a good time to post. I'm sure that we can all find out for our account. But at the end of the
Mm,
day, look at when you are able to be active on social media, right?
mm.
There's something we call posting and ghosting, which basically
Love
means
that.
you prioritize showing up and posting and putting that content out there
Yeah.
so much that you're forgetting about it once it goes up.
Mm.
And the most important thing is you're posting for your audience, you're posting for community. You're not just posting to be like, here, I gave you this. Goodbye.
Just
See
drop a
you
bomb
next
and
time I
just
post.
like, yeah.
Right. So
Okay.
so I do find it's very
Nice.
important to post when you're able to stick around a little bit and be active in the
Yeah.
comments and whatnot.
Posting and ghosting. That's a new one. I've been educated there on the social media lingo. I love I love that. Thanks.
I
New one
always
for
try to
future.
give a little bit of that into
Of
whenever
course.
I'm live. I always try to give a little bit of those tips. That's what I could talk about endlessly.
That's
So
your inner teacher Lucas mode, I think, coming out where you want to
I
share.
hear that. I do hear that. So we're just adding some tips. So we're on to step 3. Pick your content formats. Know if you're going to show up with video, if you're going to show up with carousels, if you're going to have a mix of both. And I suggest posting the same content formats on the same days of the week. So make your Mondays when you share a video. Make your Wednesdays when you share a meme, right? I guess meme Mondays would make more sense, or fun Fridays.
Ah, there
But
we go. I love
the
that.
more
Dad
you kind
puns.
of the more you make those days like a
Mm,
formula, it's easy for you to follow and easy for your audience to know what they can expect from you, is what I always say.
mm. Just on that, we've got a really good question from Keys for you, Lucas. So they've asked, uh, have you or anyone that you know, well, on the chat as well, so open to both ends, sold any custom templates or put any custom templates via Express before? Have you created
That's
any
an
templates? Yeah.
I have not sold any, I've not created any, but I did have the opportunity to create a greeting card template for
Oh,
a fun activation I did with Adobe Express. So
nice.
I wish I knew what you could search up, but if you search greeting card template, there's a very fun thank you card template would probably be better. But
Mm,
there's a fun one. It's very bright orange. It's got some cool characters. I'll try to pull it
nice.
up before we end so we can take a look at it. But
Nice.
I had so much fun, and I did a challenge for my audience to remix the card to create and to share with their audience, and got so many fun remixes and puns in particular, which was great.
Ah, they're not wasted on me, dude. We do love a good pun here at Adobe Live, so great for it. I can see some lovely comments as well coming in the chat. We've got Tabitha who said, "Good to be learning from you today." So yeah, folks are super engaged with you, Lucas.
Tabitha is another awesome educator, so thank you, Tabitha. Great to
Ah,
see you.
thank you, Tabitha. You've got
I
the crew in the
find
chat. I love it.
you can teachers know it. Teachers always know other teachers.
It's the teachers' union, is it? I love it. Teachers'
Yeah.
union. And also we've got Maeve who said post and ghosting, one to remember. Yeah, that was a
That's
really good line. I've never heard that before until now. I may use that, but I'll credit you, of course, if I use it. I
sounds.
know to credit.
It's not a Lucas original, so I actually don't. You don't have to credit me. Thank you. I don't actually know where it
It's a
came from.
universal credit. I love that.
One little subtle thing. I always love to highlight these things that I'm using here at the bottom that I'm going through so quickly, but I think it does bring value to people who maybe don't know
Mm,
they're here. I love having all the pages that I'm working with here right at the bottom, so I can literally see the pattern that I'm working with. Right? I'm
mm,
going dark, light, dark, light, dark, light in my display here. So it kind of keeps like a pattern for my audience swiping, and it's nice that I can see this. I don't have to zoom out to be able to take a look. But I am on my final slide here because what I just did here was after you've plotted out your topics for the day, and here are some sample content pillars you might want to try. Let's ring it home and end the carousel. And then I always say give a call to action. In 2025, if a good way, a simple way that everybody can upgrade their content if they aren't yet doing this is remind your audience how you want them to interact with your content or your account after they've consumed your content. It's some people are afraid to
mm.
ask, but something as simple as share this post if you learned something. I'm going to do that right now. Let's do share this post if you're up for the challenge.
Nice.
That's as simple. And it's a little bit more than share this, right? Now, before we
Even
move
if it's in
on,
bold, it's still not enough. You've got to add some more.
actually, you reminded me. I'm going to quickly go through and just um, highlight some of these in italics here. So, what's the
Nice.
secret to orchestrating a whole month of content? How many, let's do per week. Let's do that. Just reminding them it's good to learn it in chunks or weekly blocks. Which days? Let's do days. Content formats. It's so subtle, but I love how this one gets italicized here. Oh, I
Mm.
forgot my C there, and let's pop that down.
I also love as well how you've got the contrast between the serif and sans serif font, obviously being the title and body copy. It's the little things, right, for designers, but we pick up on that, which is good. Nice
Well, and
contrast.
to go back to the questions we had about brands, the awesome thing
Mm.
is you can actually label your fonts as header and body fonts. So you can see I have them right here. This is
Nice.
also great if you're like setting up a brand for someone or helping, maybe someone who's not going to know what to use and where to use it.
Mm.
There's so many things you can use for Adobe Express on a team that really helps people of all different levels kind of work together collaboratively.
No, that's a really good point. I love that you mentioned that word collaboratively because I know when we had Max, obviously not long ago now, which feels like a long, long time ago. It really wasn't.
It does.
We touched a lot on how you can collaborate with, a wider team, but also I don't know if you found this with your own work, Lucas, but when you collaborate with clients, because now you're in a point where you can share your work with clients and not be afraid that they're going to kind of massacre your precious design. There's parameters still in play, right? So you can kind of lock certain things. So the idea of collaborating is a really cool feature on Express. It'd be great to know in the chat. Has anyone kind of done that with some of their clients they worked with, collaborating? Let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear it.
I love it. Like you said, you can lock the template. So maybe you're the one who doesn't want to give, I'm gonna say too much control, but maybe you don't want someone to accidentally delete something and
Of
maybe they don't know
course,
how to get
yeah.
it back, right? So you can I love how you can do that. You're absolutely right.
Mm.
I'm just gonna add some quick elements here that I wanted to put in. Which days will you post on? Let's put another calendar in there. And just to fill it in, like I said, I want it to almost look like a photo album or like a scrapbook or like a sticker book that someone has kind of just plastered here. So let's go ahead. Let's put all our images. Then we'll go ahead and remove the backgrounds. Let's see like an old. Let's just see what comes up for camera. There's probably so many options, like you said.
Whilst you're doing that, we've got a question from a pervert on the Behance. Again, remember, folks, we're reading on Behance and YouTube, and they've asked, how many posts a week do you do, Lucas? No pressure. I was
No,
like,
that's a
wow,
good.
I love it.
So let me go to what I've said here, and this is really what I do stick with. There are two kind of territories that I think are great. Yeah, in a perfect world, we're posting 7. We're posting 14 times. Nobody can do that. That is for full teams, full brands, and it's not very sustainable, even if you can do it for a little bit. So, what I say is my kind of sweet spot is anywhere between 4 to 5 posts per week. What I've highlighted here is I think it's a very good balance between frequency, but also putting some days off, which are very important. It still can be a lot to maintain. So if someone's starting out and they are actually able to focus on higher quality, if you're just learning, then I do say, quantity, even if you're not posting, just create a lot of content and you'll learn fast. But if you are posting it, I have seen a lot of accounts lately, especially going into 2025, when they do focus on that really high quality first and foremost, and maybe that takes a bit more time per post, so they're only sharing 3 posts per week, they can often grow a lot faster than accounts that are posting every day or more, or even 5, because quality does come first. It's going to lead to more shares. It's going to lead to people realizing, hey, I like this account. I'm going to hit that follow button. So it does help. I like anywhere between 3 to 5. I personally lean towards 5 right now in my own workflow.
Okay. Nice, great question. And again, for anyone in the chat, if this is the realm of social media and posts and whatnot. So again, it'd be great to know what folks feel as well in the chat. I mean, just on that, you made a good point, because that idea of quality over quantity. And I don't know. I mean, I'm in a different world because I kind of work within print, but within my realm, I've always had that mindset that I would rather build up some content over a period of time and be happy with it and almost archive it ready so I can strategically push it out, in opposed to pushing out 1 or 2 a week and then kind of scraping the barrel when you have nothing left, right? So depending on your personality and the type of work that you do and whatnot, sometimes it's not the end of the world to actually digest what you've got and really, digest it a bit more and marinate on it before you share to the world.
That is an excellent tip, and something I like to add too is like you said, if you are ready to try and post and create, and you do want to keep up consistency, which is one of the hardest parts, I really like that idea of kind of batch an archive of content first, or get things ready. I usually say, I often get asked by people like, hey, I haven't been very active. I feel like my account has lost a lot of its luster. My community's left. How do I revive it, is the term we use. And I say, before you revive it, try to come back strong. You don't want to post, say, hey, everybody, I'm back, then make it 2 days and then run out of content. So I say, if you've already been taking a break, that's okay. Take a little bit of a longer break. And on top of that, use that time to plan out 2 weeks of content. When you have the 2 weeks of content done, then start posting, because then you have what's called a runway of 2 weeks. You can create more during that time, but you're not just running out of content very quickly.
Which is quite an easy mistake, perhaps, to sort of trap to kind of fall into, right? I can imagine maybe for folks who are not used to that space. So some great tips there, my friends. To some good gems from Mr. Lucas himself.
So just some fun things I've added in while we've been doing this. Actually, let's do one more. Let's see, paper. This is a fun challenge for the remove background feature, because it will, it's a white piece of paper with a white background. I guess I could use one of these ones, but let's go for it. Let's use this one. Let's let that picture load in and let's see. Nice. It is up for the challenge. Nice. There we go. So I always like to associate shares with paper airplanes, right? So
definitely the school kind of vibe now I'm getting from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the reckless days of being at school, but that's a whole different stream. Yeah.
So let's just look at what I've created, because I'm pretty much done with this post. But this is, and hopefully people are looking at this and saying, wow, that actually didn't take too long. I like he wrote down his ideas, which I will say is an important step. I had
Mm.
my ideas written down on paper or in a document that I could then paste to my Adobe Express project. That's the way I like to do
Nice.
it. I like to work in different chunks. Write first, then as you saw, I laid out the backgrounds, then I put
Mm.
in all the text, then I put in the images. But here's what we're looking at here. We got the full carousel post. So you can see I can easily, if I needed to, move things around. I won't because I like the order, but I'm really happy with this. I love being able to zoom out. One of my favorite
Yeah,
ways to
more
assess my
context.
content is to zoom out.
Mm. And there's a nice sort of color contrast between the two as well, right, which I think is quite engaging. So we're in that sort of it's a nice time to kind of mention if you are just tuning in, welcome, because today we have the very cool teacher and Adobe Express ambassador Lucas O'Keefe, and we are in the flow of designing some really cool templates via Adobe Express and planning our content strategy for 2025. Because we've already discussed 2025 is literally around the corner, and that's not to scare anyone. It's just us getting ahead of the game. So again, any questions you have for Lucas on the chat via YouTube, perhaps get those in, and we've got our sort of final 13 minutes or so before we shut up shop. So we're in a good
Love
place.
it. So that sounds like a great time to remind everybody that, social media, we're upgrading our content. Social media is a lot of different formats. Like I said here, it's about picking your content formats you want to show up with. So I've already spent, time making this post. I want to make it into a story because stories are an Instagram story. Stories are a great way to show up on a different feed for my audience. Some audience
Mm,
might not really watch the main feed or scroll, but maybe they choose to watch stories every day. So I like to show up on that. And that lets me throw in a little bit more video. I love doing video in
nice.
Adobe Express. They added so many new sound effects, which I won't be using
Yeah, some
today,
cool stuff.
but have fun with that. If you haven't,
Mm,
do some video and go into audio and search up some sound effects. There are so many here,
it is very
like
fun.
tens of thousands or something. I think 15,000 or more. I don't know. It's a lot of fun. But what we're going to do is we're going to resize this project. So we're resizing it and we're going to turn it into an Instagram story. So I'm going to select that here. Now, there's this very cool option I won't be using today because it doesn't really fit my project of going from a carousel to a story. But what you're
Mm,
seeing here, I just want to highlight it, is expand. And basically, if I had reversed this workflow and made a very, thin story, 1080 by 1920, and I wanted to turn it into a YouTube thumbnail or something wider, I could use this, and as it resizes, it uses AI to generate the parts of the image that normally wouldn't fit. So it basically makes your image
nice.
bigger and wider to fit, which is really cool.
And saves time, right? Because back in the old days, I'd have to actually design it, and it's not the end of the world, but still, it just makes life much more streamlined.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Something that happened super quick, that I like it resized it and duplicated it into a story. One of my favorite things about Adobe Express as well for really building out your brand content is I
Mm,
have two different sized projects here in the same project, or two different size pieces of content in the
mm,
same project. I love that I don't have to, these were rectangles or 1080 by 1350. I love that I don't have to create a new project just to make stories or just to make YouTube thumbnails. You can really flesh out all these by resizing and have every possible content size or project size that Adobe Express can do in one view like this, which is awesome for
nice.
if you build out brands or content for clients, that's really useful too.
Mm. And what's really cool, I mean, you made a great point. Obviously, once it's already optimized and set the dimensions again, if we want to adjust things just to make it a bit more, work in that space, we can easily do it. But at least it's already done the kind of hard part already for us, which is nice.
I love it. So what I'm going to
Yeah.
do with this story is this going to be like a preview for what I just posted. So we're going to keep the title. So we want that. I'm going to just turn this text box I already used for my watermark into, let's do new post. That's going to go there. And again, talking about the different formats, trying to fit the different formats into your
Mm,
strategy. Stories are really for showing up in a personal way and connecting with your audience. So I want to make that very apparent and I want to be able to do that with stories. So
mm,
even though my carousel here that I can easily flip back to has only my name on it, I'm going to use this story to make it a little bit more focused on me being the content creator. So going back to that brand, I have some photos, some brand photos that I've added in already. Let's go ahead and add that one in. again, something I said I love to do is just kind of lay out the pictures before I remove the background. Make
Mm.
sure it's one you want to use before you kind of get there. But I'm just going to make sure I want it to kind of go there.
I'm a bit
Let's
of a
remove
sucker
the
for
background.
the opacity being lowered as well, just so I can still see. Maybe it's that control freak in me, but I kind of like to still see a little bit what's behind before I totally commit, right, as it were.
No, that's a good
But
tip
yeah.
too. That's something I love about Adobe Live. I find is I always say this is like my go-to line. I love how we all have different preferences, different workflows, and we have
Mm,
the option. The way I do something can be very different from how you do something. It can be very
100%.
similar. I love the different options available, which is really great.
Yeah. Just on that, we've got a great question actually on that topic of skill and learning from Keys via Behance, and they just said, what would be interesting to learn to expand your current skill set?
What would be a good like area to grow in? Would be the
Yeah, like an
question.
upskill, I guess, within this space. Yeah, great question.
I have said I place so much value on storytelling. And I know it's a bit of like a vague answer, but it kind of should be because storytelling takes so many different forms, right? Storytelling
Mm,
can be in the video that you are communicating and speaking in your voiceover. It could be in the video clips that you're using to show, quick B-roll or stock footage that you've gotten from here, from Adobe Express, then also paired up with you living your day-to-day life. Storytelling can be in how I decided to, sequence the words and the text on this carousel post. I think
mm,
nowadays, going into 2025, if you can tell people a good story, if you can lock them in, that really is going to be content that does well. So find your way to
nice.
tell your story. Look at other ways you've liked seeing content creators share their story and try to learn from
Mm.
that and make it your own.
Nice. Some good gems there, my friend. And again, I mean, that's some great advice for those kind of starting out. And again, to know what space you can kind of operate in, and actually, even I guess touching on that emotional side of right of whatever content people are viewing. I think when you were showing us the rewriting of text, we had various options of inspirational, comical, which is the one I selected. But again, depending on the mood of the person or the vibe, I mean, sometimes the content that you see is based on your mood of the day, which plays a massive important role. So yeah.
Well, and what we can do, we should have time for after we're done here, or before we're done here. It'd be nice to go through the post and use rewrite to see how it would rewrite the full post. I love doing that. It's a
Nice.
lot of fun. What I'm doing here, and sometimes that could give you a good way of like thinking, maybe I do like how the message is said in an inspirational way or in an
Mm,
educational way, right? So we'll try that out. What I'm doing here is I'm applying some duotones to these images of me. I don't know if you remember at the very beginning when we were looking at the templates, I pointed out a
mm,
story template that I really, or I think it was a TikTok video template on the homepage of Adobe Express that I really liked the layout of. And it had the individual in that video. She had photos of herself and applied, the triple effect here. So all I did was I just copied and pasted myself multiple times, and then I just bring myself to the back, the images of
mm.
myself. Very easy way to see that too is all the layers. I have them hidden, but the layers are all right here. So I can quickly hop from one Lucas to the next to select them.
It took me a while to realize that was you. I was like, is it you? But I don't want to say in case I get it wrong. So I'd wait for you to give me
These
the open goal, as it were.
these are pretty old.
But yeah,
These are pretty old photos of me. These are like 2021, but I like them. I
nice.
probably could use with a new brand shoot to update things. But I love these effects. I'm going to use the default ones. They're all right here. But you can basically endlessly make custom ones just by picking your shadow and your highlights and have some really cool effects that you can apply to the images. So I already really like that one that I just clicked on, right?
Wow.
Very cool stuff. Um, I usually like the options. This pink one is always like my favorite, this
That's a nice
pinkish
one.
yellow one.
Mm.
And then we'll pop over to the third Lucas here. Let's go for another more kind of
We've got Tabitha who said model Lucas with the emoji of the glasses on the face. Model
oh
Lucas. Yeah, there we go.
this was
It's
definitely
the beard, isn't
it's
it?
funny when it comes to teaching is like when I first
Mm,
started teaching and I was brand new and like a substitute teacher trying to really hard to get a job and to get noticed. I dressed like this
mm.
every day. Now that I've been a permanent teacher, I wear like hoodie and hoodie
I've
and
got to ask,
t-shirts.
dude, do you have the professor jacket with the elbow pads, the elbow like sort because I think they're pretty sweet. If I'm honest with
You
you,
know
I've always
what?
thought they were quite
If I
cool.
were like a high school teacher or a professor, I would definitely go for that. Uh,
Love it.
Teaching younger kids, I think that's
Okay.
just going to mess up my mobility when I'm trying to teach them gym class and stuff like that.
Gotcha. We'll get you back on another stream in the next few years, and then we'll see if the if the fashion has changed over this period of time.
Exactly. So one thing now. So I like this story, but remember how I said it's a story. I want it to be a video. One feature I really like to use is now this new feature. Again, another one we got announced at Adobe Max this year is animate all. So right here, I can add animations with this button, and animate all is the headline. It means whatever effect I choose is going to immediately apply to all of the elements on this story. So I like pop. I think everyone's a little bit biased to pop. It's so much fun. We'll let that load in. And there we go. They already are loaded very quickly. I'll play it a few times. And I like how there's timing to it, which is very nice. It's not just all of them appearing at once. There is actual timing. You know, I put in a lot of work to have the 3 different variations of myself popping up. So it's nice to see that the animation is a little bit staggered, which is very neat to see. After that, I could do some stuff like if I want something to really just attract attention. So after the intro pop, we can go ahead and let's have like a looping animation. Let's have it pulse. I like that one. I want to draw people's attention to, after the animation pops in, I want to draw attention to the heading here, the subject. I just made a new post. So I'm gonna apply this as a loop if anybody wants to do that. And then if you go in here, you can actually change the control. So maybe if I don't want it to pulse too fast, I see that it's maybe intersecting the other text here a bit. So let's drop the intensity. And there we go. So I love how you can do this. You can then go ahead and do the same to all these elements if you really want to. But it's a full story post that now supports the carousel post I made. So if we go back to kind of see everything, again, nice and easy to just drag things around. I want my story to kind of lead because it's not the same dimensions as my carousel. But what we made here is we have a carousel post that's going to teach my audience something. Moving into 2025, if you aren't thinking about what value your content is bringing your audience, your followers, your community, your viewers, that should really be the first place you're starting. What are they going to take away from this post? Now, I, of course, as we've mentioned, I lean into my educational background, my teaching background. Education is not the only way to give value, right? Some people, it is just humor. It is something that is just going to make them laugh. It's going to make them share a relatable giggle with their friends who they're going to send the post to. That is value. That is a takeaway. So you can teach someone, you can give them a reaction, right? You can invite them into a community. You can give them a way to connect with other people like them. Think about what you're giving people in your content and lead with that as much as possible. So we created a carousel post that did that with various slides going for this nice scrapbook style. And then what we did was we created a story by resizing the carousel post. And now it's all animated with Animate All. And there's a few effects going on here that we can use. There we go.
You beat me to it because usually I do like for the last 4 minutes a nice little recap, but you totally went straight for it. I mean, I can totally I love to see that do. We do have a question actually, which I wanted to kind of make sure I didn't miss that. And that was on Behance, and they've asked, can you publish both stories and regular posts from Express to Instagram, which I feel like you can via the scheduling bit, which we can show or we don't have to, but I know that's definitely a feature where we can choose whichever social media platform you operate in. You can do that as well. I mean, do you tend to use these again with your own social media platforms to make your life easier, Lucas?
You can definitely schedule your posts, your main feed content, your reels. I do like to do that. I actually am not 100% sure if you can schedule stories. I will have to look that up myself. The thing with stories too, though, is I do find my stories are the content I do like to share more in the moment and on the fly. So if I am going to be posting something and not scheduling it, that's where I do like to lean on stories. So it's more kind of, in the moment. It's more personal. It's more me, which is why in this story we shared today, I made sure it included images of me. So I'll have to check, but it is very nice to have different options for sure.
Nice. Well, that's a nice little wrap up actually, and it's been great to sort of know your background, but even more important, your kind of values and core elements that you work with in your own social media space. And again, a massive thank you to our lovely folks on YouTube. Behance, you've been popping off. Everyone's been liking what you've been doing, dude. It's been cool to see your design process. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, I've had a blast. Thank you to everybody for commenting, for tuning in with us. It's you know, it makes it a much less lonely world to be able to design and to create together like this.
Definitely. We've got your back, dude. We've got your back. So that's a nice way to wrap up. So up next, definitely stay tuned because we're going to have the legend that is Jack Watson, and they will be focusing on another Adobe Illustrator challenge titled Making with Type. So on that note, Lucas, it's been my pleasure to host you, dude. Hopefully we'll see you next time for our next stream. And again, to all our lovely folks on YouTube Behance, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon. Stay safe and have a good one. Ciao.